Yeah. Okay. So using an I statement, we hadn't gotten to do the I statement thing this weekend. It comes up almost every time. So,
yeah, you just said something about our relationship, the relationships that people have to stuff, and I was just saying, yes, I have difficult relationships. I know with people and things in my life. So, just
yeah,
validating that.
Yeah.
This is a great tool to use to engage that relationship and change it.
When you start with, I have a difficult relationship with he or she, it even, the first place to start in a difficult relationship is, is this a relationship I would start today? If I met this person today, would I be in relationship with them? That is just good to know. It doesn't mean you have to dump the person. It just means it's good to know. Because if the answer is no, then you want to start modifying how much of your oomph you're continuing to invest in the relationship. Because if you recognize, look, I would not start a friendship with you today, but I still have lingering commitments with you, and those lingering commitments I will honor, but I will not seek out a deepening of this relationship as you are now. Now, a lot of times what happens is when you pull back from that, they start to change. Or they don't change at all, but you're changing, so you grow a gap. But very, very frequently when you say, I wouldn't start this relationship again, that means I'm not committed or connected to it continuing. I'm not connected to it deepening. You start telling your truth. You stop wearing masks. And it clears the air in a way that can be challenging but very fruitful. That's really the dynamic as it happens. I know I would not start this relationship with you today. Therefore, I'm not invested in this relationship prospering. Therefore, I can tell my truth without risk because I don't care if the relationship ends. Right. You tell your truth and you invite them to show up differently, and sometimes the relationship completely blossoms. And other times you go, yeah, that's why I don't want to be in a relationship with you, because look how you act when I show you my truth.
Right. Yeah, I have this problem.
Yeah.
Of taking that final step.
Yeah. And the thing is it doesn't have to be a final step. And that's the problem, is some people think, I have to cut this person off. You don't have to cut this person off. You just have to know that you're not invested in continuing the relationship. Right? So it's not like you have to call them up and say, I'm never calling you again. You just don't call them up.
You don't call them, but then they call you. They keep calling you.
Or they don't, because you no longer engage with them in the way you used to. It does. It's amazing how fast this can change relationships. We have many examples. If you change, because what we're feeling is a part of you says, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person, but you don't change in that relationship. You just feel bad for having continued it.
Yeah, act nice, put on the mask, everything's hunky-dory. And right.
That's the part that's not changing.
Right.
Right? Has to start with you. You have to change. So if a person that you don't want to have a relationship with calls you, you don't call them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that was a new idea. Or, sometimes what happens is somebody that you're not enjoying being in relationship with, or you want to create a difference in relationship with. Maybe they call or text or whatever, email, and you've always responded immediately. Wait a day. Even a small change in the relationship like that, wait a day before you reply. If they freak out, then good thing to know about them. Yeah. Makes your decision even easier, right? If they don't freak out and they act, the same, you're going to be like, wow, I didn't have to be treating them like an I didn't have to be acting like I had to Johnny on the spot respond to them in order. Maybe I'm the one creating the pressure in this relationship, that they're not actually the one creating it. You learn a lot about yourself when you actually show up as the truth of you and what's important to you. But yeah, saying, am I invested in this relationship continuing? And sometimes the answer is yes, even though I don't like the person. Right? You have an ex-husband. You may not actually want to have to continue the relationship, but you know, you got kids, so you're going to continue the relationship. So it's best to start continuing the relationship as the truth of you as soon as possible, because you know your kids are young, you're going to be around this dude for a long time to come, so you may as well start showing up as the truth of you immediately so that you don't have to wait another decade before you try.
Right.
And showing
anxiety in the process. So.
Yeah, and the truth of you can simply be inquiring, what is true now for me? Before you reply to an email, before you reply to a text, making sure your feet are under your shoulders before you call him or before he comes to pick up the kids. Taking that extra minute to say, I'm going to be in my center when I interact with him. Taking that extra minute to remind yourself you do not owe him an answer, a reply, an apology, nothing. You simply, you can say, I don't know as often as you want. Giving yourself permission to be your authority figure over your experience in the relationship. That's, you know, 90% of reclaiming your power in a relationship is just to stop waiting for the other person to say you're okay. Right? To stop waiting for the other person to say, it's all right for you to disagree with me. Who does that? Nobody. But people wait for that for their lives. Wait for someone to say, it's okay for you to tell me what you really feel. And you're going to be there forever. You have to be the one who says, that is what I want for me, is the ability to interact with the world from that perspective. And until I've got it, I'm going to keep asking for it from myself. I'm going to demand that I show up in that way. I need it. I want it. It's important to me. I value it. If I don't have it, I'm missing out on me. And you got kids, so you need to model this to them so that they don't have to spend the next 40 years trying to figure out how to wear a mask, when really the mask is not needed, right? It's a big responsibility to be parents. It is, yeah. So that's, you know, how relationships fit into this. It's good we covered that, because, you know, it comes down to, how much of your day will you spend wearing a mask in order to propagate a relationship that's run its course? And it doesn't mean the person has to be out of your life. It means you just have to stop attaching to an outcome with them. Like we've said to you about the levels, right? We've said it doesn't matter what level you're in necessarily. What matters is the level you're in the level you want to make your decisions from? That's our inquiry to you. You can own that you want to be in victimhood all day long, and we will say, go ahead, free will. But we're also going to say to you, do you want to make your decisions from level 2 as a victim? Because if that's not true, you need to do something else. Okay? Same thing with relationships. It doesn't mean in the relationships. It means know your level of investment in it continuing. How invested are you in this relationship continuing? And if you're like invested to the level of, if I can't be my truth, I don't care if I ever see this person again, we think that's really healthy. But you may be, I will just, so long as I can be in neutral observation with you, like an ex-husband that's the father of your babies, okay. So long as I can be neutral and centered when I interact with you, I'm good. That's all I want from you, is neutral and centered mutual respect. I don't expect you to inform me about your life. I don't expect you to include me in your decisions. I don't expect anything other than neutral, centered, neutral observation from a centered and respectful place, period. Because I'm not engaged in being the person you call when you get good news. I don't need to be that person for you anymore. I'm not that person for you anymore. And I'm not going to pretend that we are. I'm going to say, here's the standard of the level of our relationship. You know, you have this thing where like monogamy, marriage, child raising, the person you call when you have good news, the person you counsel with, you know, that when you're confused or sad. Like there's all these different things that are kind of hallmarks of relationships. And so recognizing where that relationship is in your spectrum of interaction, and then letting that spectrum of interaction of that relationship inform how much investment you have in it. You know, there's certain people who, like, if you don't call them every week, they think you're not their friend anymore. Okay, are you invested enough to make that commitment to reinforcing that behavior in them? The answer is yes or no, and it's not our decision to make, right? Certain friends have certain, people have certain things that make them feel loved and seen. What's really great is if they know that about themselves, so they can say, this is important to me, rather than expect you to read their mind. You let me down because you didn't call me this week. Okay, I didn't know that I had to call you every week to not let you down. Is that something you need? I will decide whether or not that fits into the level of friendship I have available for you. Might sound cold, but the truth is it's just telling facts. And it's all asking to know the truth of you in order to make those decisions. I have to know if it's true for me that I have that ability to make that commitment. And if I don't, I can say, look, I like spending time with you, but I can't give you that level of commitment. You decide. Not you decide if I'm a good person. You decide if what I have to offer is sufficient. Because I know what I have to offer, i.e. boundaries. Right? It's all about boundaries, too. You feel the boundaries in there? This is what I have to offer. But you have to know what you have to offer, i.e. what is true now. See how it all goes back to what is true now?